Hello and welcome back to another episode of FPL Apprentice. Still the only podcast and series that delves into the mind of one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Former world number one, Mr. Matthew Corbridge. And Matt is still suffering with a little bit of jet lag following his trip to Canada. We'll let him off. But it's a special episode today because it is episode 100. So we have to do something a bit different. You'll see, I've got a special guest with me. It's only the leader of the FPL Apprentice Mini-League, Mr. Jack Greenwood. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
Woo! Thank you, Dave. Thanks for inviting me on.
No problem at all. We just thought, well, you know what? We've never done it before. We've never got a guest on. We've never got somebody leading the league on. So let's do it for episode 100. Just have a bit of a chat to you about your team, how you've got on, your setup, all of that sort of stuff. Just to see, well, you're beating me. So clearly I can learn a few things from you.
Well, we'll see. I think I've been learning from you for the past 2 years, so I've just
Take that.
just got
Mainly
lucky.
man.
Just got lucky.
But yeah, we'll just dive straight into it, mate. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to bring up the league just to prove you are top. Now, there has been a bit of shithousery, right? So this is going to look like you're second. Just for anybody that decides to point it out. Um, there was somebody that joined the league knowing that they would go top, and I wasn't having any of it, mate. So I booted them. You're back number one. Rightly, you've been in it since game week one, and there you are, 3 points clear, despite not having a great week, mate. You've got to be pretty happy, right?
Yeah, I think pretty happy. I think there was a couple of decisions that I almost made which would have improved that week, but I guess we may touch on that later. But yeah, like happy. You know, it's always fun when you're top of a league. It makes the job a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes it more fun. I'm gonna take my top 10 position because it's not often I'm in the top 10, so I'm gonna dine out on that for a bit. But what I thought it'd be worth doing is just bringing up your game week history, just to see how your season's gone over the first 8 game weeks. Started off pretty strong, never been worse than 1.5 million, mate. Which that's pretty impressive when you see some of the ranks on Twitter and so on and so forth. But went all the way down to 14,000. Like, what out of interest? Like, what is your aim at the start of the season?
To get to the end of the season and still be making transfers.
Nice.
Usually it gets
I
to
like it.
maybe February. There's sort of like is there an international break or something? Usually February time
Yeah.
or something or Champions League or something like that. And I always seem to sort of fall off the wagon at that point. I think not last year, the year before. It was the first time I'd played it until after Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, the aim is to try and finish a season.
Well, if you're still going to be top of this league, then you've got to go for it, man. But yeah, I'm just as I say, gonna throw some questions at you, mate, about general play. There's nowhere better to start than game week one. We'll bring up that team. But yeah, a couple of questions on this, mate. So what is your standard style of play when it comes to FPL?
I think I tend to choose the most expensive players and then build a really dirt cheap team around them. I thought this year was quite easy to do because there was a lot of transfers into some of the sort of rough outside big six teams, and so I felt like you could build in that way. Especially with, again, the biggest change to the game was DefCon. I think if you look at that team there, you've got what, 6, 7 players that base their game around DefCon, with two holding midfield players and four centre halves. So yeah, that's what it allowed me to do. So yeah.
I was going to ask, did you was anything different this season? And you've touched on DefCon already. Was it,
Yeah,
did you make your mind up that you'd bring in those players before the expensive ones, or vice versa, like previous seasons?
yeah, no. So I always try and build a team that has usually a Haaland and a Salah, and if you can fit them both in, it's usually a pathway to success. That the problem with most years is you have to choose between the two because of the price points. Um, Yeah, so this year I felt like you could kind of skimp on the back a little bit, whereas before you always have like a Trent last year at 7 million, for example, and then another
Yeah.
premium defender in that sort of 5.5 to 6 range, and that would be sort of your defenders. But because of the DEFCON sort of introduction, it meant that other defenders like an Anderson at Fulham, like I mean, well, hindsight says Milenkovic as well would actually lead to like a decent return if they had a decent defense, and it just meant that there'd be people appearing across sort of as the weeks went on that were dirt cheap, really, but we're getting lots of points from like a DEFCON perspective. So I ended up putting Salah and Haaland in, and then Palmer, and then Virgil, and something that's always haunted me is they always seem to go with like that weird 4 million goalkeeper rotation option, and it never works. You always want to move to a premium goalkeeper at some point. In the season, I could never do it, and I was like, just going to set up a team where I don't need to do anything.
Nice. Nice. And it's very nice, smashed in with 10 points. I think everybody wants them now. Arsenal clearly the best defence in the league. I'm assuming people like Caicedo and Xhaka have scored points beyond anything you could have imagined at the start of the season.
Well, yeah, Caicedo with those couple of goals is great. Xhaka was just there because everyone went for like a Dewsbury Hall as that 5 million midfielder. And although he looks really good on the eye test, because he was so heavily owned, I just worried that if people tried to sell him off in game week 3, 4, 5, his price would drop. And then as soon as prices start changing, that's where the game becomes a little bit tough, a little bit harder. Like you get priced out of moves that if I had the 100 million that I had at the beginning, I would just redesign the team, but you just can't do that. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And, noticed on your bench 2 players there that I don't even think could play in game week 1. They'd already moved away from the Premiership, if I'm not mistaken. Is that because of like a price fix thing?
Well, I think the Bournemouth player actually dropped in price to 4.4,
Oh,
but the Villa player did move to my home team, Huddersfield,
nice.
and it was just because they were 4.5 million, not particularly highly owned. So I just hope that once the dust settles after sort of game week 3, that they would hold their price rather than have that that Matt Gui that for Sunderland that everybody had, and his price. I think his price dropped. I vaguely remember. So you get impacted by
He's
that.
way down. Yeah. I think he's 4.2 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I
Major
get.
drop when he went back to Chelsea.
Yeah, I think things that have hurt me in previous years is having those highly owned bench players that realistically they are just going to change within
Yeah.
a couple of weeks. They're perhaps not even going to be there, or they're just not going to get played, and then people wildcard after the transfer window and stuff. So it just affected all the future moves that I could make. So yeah, that was the decision making there.
And even with them on the bench, you've got 12, well, 14 players, really, 13 players even. But outfield, you've always got that one rotation bench option. Is that something that you've always done, where you just have 2 bench fodder and then just one option to come onto the pitch and rotate?
Yeah. Now that is probably the way I play the game. I think I've been quite lucky this year with some of the price rises, and as we go through the game weeks, we'll see. So I've been lucky now, and especially with form of certain players, like had Salah continued his form, had Haaland has continued his form, I probably would have just left the team as it is, and then sub out injuries like a Palmer there. He gets injured at some point. I can't remember if it's this week or 2 weeks after. So again, just move those players out and played around with them and have sort of like 3 or 4 fixed players. But form has impacted decision making. So yeah.
As it should, mate. But yeah, I like it. I like it. You're going through your setup. But yeah, well, let's move our way through the game weeks into game week 2. No transfers, kept the squad, rolled the transfer. Haaland captain, unsurprisingly. I think most people would have went there, but Lacroix coming in for Palmer. Is that an automatic sub? It was. That was to have been the week Palmer got injured.
Yeah, I always like to try and gamble on an injury if I think it's going to be a better game for the player that could be injured. So yeah.
Makes sense. And I don't know if there's much to chat. I appreciate you haven't done any transfers, and the only players you played outfield were the players that could play. So I suppose you were kind of stuck. But I'm assuming you were happy with that squad.
Yeah, you sometimes get those funny game weeks where there's a bunch of clean sheets. So I kind of just tried to sort of cover as many teams as possible for a clean sheet perspective. I think, truth be told, I wasn't particularly happy with this game week. I don't know why. I really wanted Kudus to do something, and he's kind of like my differential in this team. And so that was kind of where I was on them. Luckily, I think Caicedo, I think he maybe got an assist or a goal this game week. I can't quite remember. So I got lucky there. And
I
then
did.
Sunderland looked when he got a goal, didn't he? Sunderland looked to everybody's surprise like an actual solid, decent unit. So Xhaka picked up a couple of points as well, which is always nice.
You did, DEFCON for him. If you look through your whole squad for this week, mate, DEFCON there, you got DEFCON for Virgil van Dijk, probably DEFCON for Anderson based on those points. I'm going to assume DEFCON from Lacroix. So there's 4 players getting your DEFCON. I assume that was a clean sheet, yeah. But 4 players getting it, which if you didn't set up with that DEFCON in mind, that's a 40-point week rather than 48. So it's worked. It's worked out. We'll move on to game week 3 because he did do a transfer. Now, it might have been a forced transfer, but you ended up selling Palmer for Rodgers. So, why Rodgers?
I think I just felt that Villa had such a poor start to the season that it could only get better. I can't remember his fixture, but I liked his fixture this week.
Well, good, because I kept Watkins way too long because of those fixtures. But yeah, there you go. You'd have had Palace, followed by Everton, Sunderland, Fulham, and Burnley.
Yeah, I liked the fixtures coming up, and I thought, and I think is this after the international break or is it? I can't quite remember.
1 game week before.
Yeah, I think I brought him in, and then he played in the international break, and he looked unplayable. Like he looked incredible. I was like, surely that form is gonna materialize for Villa. Well, not until this game week anyway. Just gone.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man. As I say, I'd Watkins until this game week, just gone. So I was back in Villa with you. But again, look at those DEFCON. Caicedo got it. Xhaka got it. Anderson must have got it. Did Lacroix get it? No, got an assist and some bonus. But again, 3 of those players you pointed out in game week 1, picking up DEFCON points again. And now I need to ask you this question. Yeah, so Virgil on the bench over the likes of Milenkovic and Van der Ven, etc. To be
Who were
fair
they
to you,
playing that
Liverpool, they were playing Arsenal. So
week?
I get it. Is that the reason? Was it purely fixture
led? Yeah, it was completely fixture led. I thought Salah from last season, I'd back him to score in every game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of, it was probably between those two. Like I didn't think I could leave both of them on. So it was between Salah and Virgil, which sounds really weird to say, but I thought.
I know, get it. I get it. I mean, the Forest have.
Oh no, you had
Forest
Bournemouth.
home to Brentford. Did we? Oh no, that's game week 1.
Oh,
there you go.
My bad.
This one.
Why does that not change when you move the game, when you move the team forward? That's so weird.
Yeah, sort that out, FPL. I saw that one out. But Forest home to West Ham, we were doing terribly, so I get why Milenkovic started. Tottenham were at home to Bournemouth, only conceded 1. So yeah, I don't hate you. Sometimes you got to take gambles, right? Game week 4, decent week, 38,000th in the world. No chips played this game week, but an absolute stormer. Clean sheets all over the shop. Salah getting you a captain points. Caicedo with 12. Haaland with 13. Potentially your best game week ever?
It could be up there. Yeah. I very rarely ever make it into triple digits. Regretted not putting the captaincy on Haaland. That netted me an extra couple of points. But overall, I was pretty happy. I think, can you see the fixtures for this? I feel like this was a very clean sheet heavy week, if memory serves. Yeah, like loads of nils.
Lots of nils.
That was the best.
That's crazy when you see it.
Yeah, that was the best game week possible for me. I was like, because the team is built around really dull games. It's easier to defend. Yeah, it's easier to defend than it is for one player to score 1 goal. Like from an odds perspective, you're probably more likely to have a clean sheet from a team than Haaland score, or pick a random, the Bournemouth centre forward who scored 2 at the weekend just there. So
yes,
tend to try and go with the what's more likely to happen, and hope fingers crossed clean sheets.
Yeah, and it's working. It's absolutely working. You know what? Every game week, I'm looking at Xhaka and going, this guy's getting points again. It's out
I
of
think
interest.
he averages like form. He's averaging like 4.6 a match. He tends to
Um,
play 90 minutes and get DEFCON.
why for a £5 million midfielder, he's never got lower than 3. That's not
which,
bad. Fair
which
play.
he was a walk. I think we spoke at the beginning of the season maybe a little bit, and you were like, "He's a walking yellow card. Is a walking red card." So far, touch wood, I don't think he's got one.
Not even a
But
yellow.
I don't think he's got a single booking. I don't think. I not really like
Two,
looked.
three, three,
Oh,
three
oh,
apparently.
he's got 3. Oops.
It's nearly half the games.
But yeah, he's just seems to. He's always going
It
to play.
returns.
He's always going to play in that team. He's always going to play 90 minutes. If they get a clean sheet, or he'll probably get DEFCON because they'll always be up against it. So
Yeah.
probably always looking at 4 minimum.
It's absolutely flying. Now, 3 game weeks in, 1 transfer made. However, mate, that all changes. Game week 5, 3 transfers. So you did Milenkovic to Senesi. You did Rogers out to Semenyo. Now, I want to ask you on Rogers because you'd only just bought him in 2 weeks previous. So it'll be interesting to know why you shipped him out. And then one of your bench fodder strikers became João Pedro. So yeah, used all 3 of your free transfers there. Again, a good game week. Anything under 1 million is a good game week. You pulled in 949, dropping your rank even further, and 58 points overall. Very well, not even solid, a good game week. Those transfers, obviously, Senesi getting your 9, Semenyo getting your 5, Pedro unfortunately not bringing anything to the party, but again, another steady week, mate. What were your thoughts around your transfers?
Yeah, I think there was from the beginning of the game there was no other than Haaland, there was no real standout other strikers. So I had to then João Pedro sort of stuck his head out as a striker. He should perhaps get in as that second striker. So I brought him in. Everybody was raving about Senesi, and I was like, well, he's actually a little bit of a cheaper enabler from Milenkovic. He's doing nothing. Semenyo. I sort of gave Rodgers 2 game weeks in the hopes that I would see something, whether that be
Yeah,
an assist or a goal, or at least even like looking like it. And I just
yeah.
didn't see it.
Didn't do
So
it.
I was like, Semenyo's on fire. Everybody's got him and bringing him in. Let's just jump on the bandwagon. I guess. I think
Yeah,
sometimes
I get it.
if it was a player that I want to bring in, maybe not really this game week, in maybe a game or two's time. But if I get priced out of that move, it's going to really annoy me. So as you can see, I sort of have these weird like rush of blood moments where I make 3 or 4 transfers in one go and then forget about it for a few weeks. Again, I
Well,
think I put
we'll
the
come on to
captain
that.
on. Yeah, we'll come on to that one. But we put the captain on Salah again. I stuck with Salah as captain too long. Believe that he will turn a corner at some point. But usually, if Salah's got Afcon, he's not particularly great, is he? That's usually after the Afcon, though.
Yeah. It's got a few weeks till then, but yeah, just to back you on João Pedro there. So you bought him in game week 5. You're right. It's game week 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2, 15, 9, and 7. He looked
And then
like he
he's
was
only
going to
got 2
be.
since.
Yeah, unfortunately, since you've jinxed him because he's had no return since.
Yeah,
Semenyo, very similar, although he has continued to score, but a 15, a 6, a 2, and a 13. And then luckily when you bought him in 5, 7, 18, and 4. So he keeps delivering. And I've kind of been jealous of Senesi. I'm yet to have him. But yeah, he was an absolute DEFCON monster. He's got it every single game week, bar 1. So
yeah,
for somebody that you spoke about the importance of DEFCON from the off, this guy has been bringing home the bacon, as they say. So yeah, happy transfers.
yeah. Like last year and the year before that, like defenders was all based around assists. That's kind of what you look for. You kind of wanted those fullbacks who were gonna get out wide and get that ball in, like a Trent, like a Porro, like a João Cancelo before that. Those types of players. Whereas,
Mm.
as I say, because DEFCON's there now, I think it's all about centre halves that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are gonna
Hey,
make a few.
proofs that it's working, man. It is working.
Yeah,
Game week 6, you mentioned going from a doing a transfer or a big load of transfers to none. Game week 6, no transfers again. Happy with the team. Carried it over. And again, what a great game week. 112k game week rank with 85 points thanks to a triple captain on Haaland.
Yeah,
I'm
that's where all
assuming
the
you were happy
points
to see
came
those
from.
two. Well, I'm assuming you were happy to see those 2 goals go in injury time.
I was getting very worried. I was like, surely he's going to at least score once. It was Burnley, wasn't it? I'm sure it was. He was going to at
It
least
was.
score one
Yeah.
against Burnley. And then he scored.
Yeah.
I saw he scored 2. I was like, oh, thank God. But yeah,
Just
like you mentioned
consistent
earlier,
fill in.
Xhaka with a 9 as well, which
I know.
helps out.
Absolutely, because he must be a major differential for you because I don't know many people. 4.6% owned. So every time he brings home anything, especially a 9-pointer, that's a massive help to your rank.
I don't think he's in the team anymore.
Well, we'll touch on that. He might have gone. But yeah, Haaland getting your points. Semenyo, who you just bought in, getting your points. Senesi, who you just bought in, also getting your points. So clearly the transfers worked well, and yeah, triple captain played well. Is there a reason, just for anybody that's listening that hasn't played their triple captain yet? It might be an obvious answer, mate. Feel free to give the obvious answer. Why did you pick this week, and why Haaland?
Because I tend not to look too far in advance. I tend to isolate myself into looking at the games of like a 3-week stint to keep interest. And I saw a
Yeah,
bunch of people online saying they were going to play triple captain on Haaland because this looks like the best game week, and I was like, "Cool, I'll do the same."
it
If I
worked.
start looking at 6, 8, 10 weeks in advance, I can't remember what I decided 6 weeks ago, so I can't remember what I had
Yeah,
for breakfast. So sort of here and now, and just make a decision and go, "Cool, we'll just if everybody else is doing it, it's either gonna kind of work in my favor or." There's no,
yeah,
no skin off my nose sort of thing. So I think a lot of people maybe played it quite early on, maybe game week 2 or something for some reason, game week 2, game week 3. So yeah, I sort of felt like I had to play it. At Burnley,
yeah.
Man City against Burnley, surely guarantee goals away hard. It started as well, which luckily it
Yeah,
did in the end, but not within the 90 minutes. It was
I was
just
about to
after.
say. I ended up doing it at 10:58. I know what it was my mum. My mum convinced me. So actually, my mum plays at a bit of FPL, but she's not massively into it. So she was just asking me when would you play chips, and she asked me the question, when would you play your triple captain chip? And I said, well, ideally you want a Haaland or a Salah at home to a poor defense. And she was like, well, they're at home to Burnley. And I just told her that statistically Burnley had the worst defense in the league, and she was like, well, why haven't you played your triple captain? Thank you, mum. Bang! Play went for it, and luckily, I wasn't happy about it until, as you say, the 90th minute, and then I was
Mm.
like, "Thanks, mum. Appreciate that." So always listen to your mum. Going into game week 7, no transfers again, keeping the captaincy on Haaland. 74, 2.3 million, which is still given your rank, it was a very small red arrow, but not much. You were still at this point at around the 16k mark, which obviously is a fantastic rank for this time of season. But look, Caicedo again. Those cheap enablers, DefCon merchants, Iman Xhaka have just been popping with points for you, and I assume Caicedo is a very similar low ownership. Okay, he's gone up. He's gone up since he's been scoring, but you've had him from the off. You've got 2 double digits from the guy.
Yeah, but again, really pleased with how it's gone. I was pleased to see Semenyo back 'cause I brought him in not the game week before, the game week after, before that even, and then Kudus as well. Kudus is one of those players. It's great on the eye test. He looks fantastic, but I think he's only got 2 double digits, hasn't he? Maybe he's got a
Yeah,
10. I think maybe was he not game week 1 and this game week, and the rest are all sort of
he's had
like single
1-7.
figures. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's so I mean, it's one of those
You're right.
players. He's only there because of his price. That's the only
Yeah,
reason, and I think he feels like the most exciting. Well, maybe more than apart from maybe Grealish, the most exciting nailed on 6.5 million midfielder at the time. Anyway,
yeah, I get it. I mean, I might. I've got him, and I'm kind of looking at him. That 0.31 expected goal involvement per 90 is kind of a little bit off-putting. For somebody like Sa a Palace is double that and a very similar price point. But he has popped up with points, especially this game week for you. and as value's gone
Yeah.
up, so you'll be getting something back as and when you sell them, if you sell them.
Yeah, I always think, the way the fixtures fall and the way the teams fall and who's in favour and stuff, you're probably never going to have, very rarely you're going to get the entire team, if ever, to get double digits. So really, if you get three or four players in sort of double figures, you've kind of done okay. That's kind of where I'm at. Haaland tends to, I would have liked to have thought before this game week, Haaland would have maybe got close, Salah would have got close, and Semenyo, and then maybe one of the others. Obviously, Salah's been absolutely horrific this season from both a in-person perspective to watch and from an FPL perspective. So yeah, that's what I look for. I was like, try and get 3 or 4 players at doubled figures, and you probably all right.
Yeah, which is proven here again. 2.3 million, a steady game week. As I say, small red arrow, not much, but leaves you on 16k. And then, unfortunately, the week that's just gone, you've had your worst game week of the season. 7.1 million, a red arrow taking you from 16k down to 64k. Primarily because Xhaka popped up with a return for you. To be fair to him, and I appreciate Ray got a clean sheet, but Haaland really the only one that did anything. But again, mate, no transfers. I was going to ask you on your transfer strategy. You've kind of touched on it, but there's been 8 game weeks. You've only made transfers in 3 of them. Is that because of pre-planning, or is that because you mentioned you just worked 3 game weeks in like a stint?
Yeah, I think I want to leave. I want to leave. Like, the game can be like really obsessive, so you can kind of like start obsessing over it, and then you get really affected if the player that you've done all the analytics on doesn't score, or doesn't get an assist, or doesn't get a clean sheet, and you think, or doesn't take the free kick, all those sorts of things. So sometimes it's easy to just set down. I think I maybe missed this game week deadline for some reason, because I tend to do
Sneaky
like
one after
my
international.
because I'm pretty sure I do my substitutions like during the game week for the next game week. So because they're all locked in at that point, so it doesn't matter. So I look at like I might be watching like the 5:30 game on Saturday or whatever it is, and I look and I go, okay, cool. So they're playing, I don't know, they're playing Chelsea. Okay, I might not include Xhaka, for example. So I might swap him for Caicedo because they might be playing Sunderland. Just those sorts of things. I'll do all the substitutions and then I'll leave it for a week. The only thing I maybe check is injuries and make sure no one's injured. But even then, I try and sort the bench if there is an injury. It just auto does it. I try and stay quite hands off because otherwise, you're in it every day looking at certain things.
Yeah,
And
like me.
yes,
When do you do your transfers out of interest?
depends on the game week. I think so. Yeah, sometimes I rage transfer quite hard. I think so. The Cole Palmer transfer when he got injured in like game week 3, I did on the Saturday. Just because the way the team was set up at the time, I think it was defenders all around the 4.5 million pound mark, and then Virgil, Salah, Palmer, and Haaland. So those 4 are always going to stay, and it left me no wiggle room. So I think as soon as he got injured in that warm up, I was like, take him out of the team because I couldn't afford him to drop in price. Because as soon as he drops in price, I wouldn't be able to change certain things. For me, the game's all about prices and prices, and so that stops you ultimately from doing things that you want to do. And then I think this game week, I was humming and ahhing whether I swap Virgil. I really wanted to triple Arsenal, but I just didn't think it was the right game week. So I was looking because I still got a little. I think at this point, I still got like a couple of million in the bank, maybe 2 point something 3. So I had a little bit of money to play with. So I was like, well, I need to get rid of the bench forward to at least give me some flexibility. Salah wasn't doing anything. Virgil wasn't really doing anything since game week 1. So I was like, I need to get rid of those 3 at the very least. And people were jumping on Arsenal. Gabriel had just had a double-digit return, and his price started to rise. I think he's now it was like 6.3. So I was like, cool. I need to consider bringing these guys in.
Yeah.
And with Salah going, I could sort of do that. And then upgrade Redmond to someone who's actually starting. So I considered it, and then I thought, nah, it's Salah against Man United. Salah against Man United is just different.
Always scores, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
He should what? He should have. In all fairness to you, like if we look at it, this is going to show me up now. But from watching the game, his expected goal is it's 0.55. Okay, not great, but it's gone in the right direction. 0.08, 0.21, 0.31 there. But the only one that he's really got anything half decent in is when he had a penalty against Burnley and he got 0.94. But it's kind of gone in the right direction. But yeah, for a £14.5 million midfielder, probably
Yeah,
still not enough.
and
So
and,
on that,
and
go on, sorry.
well, and his price started to slide as well. His price is at
Yeah.
14.4, and I was like, oof, these 1.1s are killing me.
Well, you can see me here, like your value of your squad. You're right. You're like you say you play it as prices. Well, in 8 game weeks, you've made 2.5 million. I dare say that's quite a lot compared to most.
Yeah, I
So
think yeah, I think so.
proofs in the
Gives
pudding.
like I say, it's all about those price changes. If you can get ahead of those price changes, it make a big difference. Like, if Kudus had slipped to 6.3, 6.2, it means you're now looking at £5 to £6 million midfielder to bring in, and chances are you're looking at someone who's on the rise. So what was a 5.5? Well, I don't think there's many 5.5s. But what was a £5 million midfielder is now 5.2. He's even going to play. So many things to consider. So yeah, I always get burnt. I tend to get burnt quite badly and harshly by the price changes. So I try to get far ahead of them now.
As you can, nice. And I've got two more questions for you, mate. One was going to be about future transfers for game week 9, but you
Okay.
told me just before we came on you've already done some range transfers. Now you went into this. You're going into game week 9 with 4 free transfers, and you've used all 4 already. Who's gone?
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to fact check myself. I'm sure I know what all 4 of these are, but let me just go through.
This is the game week
Uh,
I can't see.
yes, so I have already. So I've done what I said just a second ago. I have got rid of Virgil. I've got rid of Salah, and I've got rid of Xhaka and the
Yep.
bench forward. So they're
Redmond.
my 4
Redmond's gone.
changes. So for Virgil, I brought in Gabriel just because he seems essential at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I brought in Saka for Salah because I don't fancy anybody else. Really, I don't fancy
Yeah.
Fernandez. And if Palmer comes back and he all of a sudden sets on fire, I could maybe swap him over. Don't like the
Yeah.
Crystal Palace fixture. Crystal Palace are a big team, a game team. So I feel like that's not. That could be a tough one. I brought in
Pentaker though.
Sar.
You know,
Yeah,
you've kept
uh,
kept the Arsenal Pentaker. I think a lot of people that played the wild card a couple of weeks ago when they went for Gyökeres are regretting it, and they'd rather have Saka. So you're ahead of that curve.
yeah, yeah. I just like the fixtures this week for a couple of other strikers. I then brought in Sar for Xhaka purely because I
Nice.
had 0.5 million or something like that, and I kind of needed to spend it somewhere. Xhaka's great, as we've seen, but he's kind of just going to tick along at that sort of 4-5 mark. And Sarr just has a slightly higher upside, and Palace's fixtures, I think, change a little bit after Arsenal. They seem to be quite
Do.
favourable. And then
Yeah.
my final one was I was looking at Mateta for ages, and then I decided purely based on a 1 week punt, which I'm now regretting maybe after Monday night, is I brought in Jared Bowen.
Bowen. Interesting. Going
Yeah,
for
he
Bowen.
plays Leeds and Burnley in his next 3, and
Have a look.
I'm hoping that he's going to outperform Mateta.
Mate, he's joint points with Mateta, and considering Mateta's just got a hat trick,
Yeah,
you can kind of see it. But you're right. There you go. Leeds, Newcastle at home, Burnley, and then Bournemouth and Liverpool. A little bit more difficult, but those next 3 look
I'm
quite nice for
purely
him.
looking at the next 3, maybe 4 if I had to.
Yeah,
But it
he's
just meant
getting
that
goals.
now,
Okay.
yeah, it just means that now with that team, I have the ability to sort of It's got a full bench, so it sets me up for a bench boost at some point. The problem with my team at the beginning of the season was it had no ability to bench boost because it had 2 players that were never going to play. So now I'm in a position where if I can get a gauge on some decent fixtures or actually have a look at it, gives me an opportunity to bench boost. The thing I don't like about the team is it's not particularly diverse. You've got 2 Palace players, 3 Arsenal players, 2 Chelsea, 2 Bournemouth, and 2 Tottenham players. So it feels like there's quite a lot of eggs in only a few baskets. That's the part that worries me about the team, and I know I'm going to have to get rid of probably some of the Spurs guys in a couple of weeks. I'm sure they've got a couple of tough fixtures coming up. Chelsea,
Yeah,
United,
they change.
Arsenal.
There you go. Everton, Chelsea, United, Arsenal. So not
Yeah,
the best fixtures.
but Chelsea seem to be a bit leaky. Man United are pretty leaky. Arsenal aren't leaky. You might as well just buy. If you could buy 5 defenders for Arsenal, you would do. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I kind of needed to get to a point for this team where it could bench boost because in game week 1 it couldn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of my thoughts on that one.
Brings me on to my last question. I'm going to stop sharing because I don't need to share the screen for this one. You've touched on it. Bench boost you've hit. So far you've used your triple captain very well. Obviously, Haaland brought home the points in that game week 16, tripled up to 48. So between now and game week 19, in the next 11 game weeks, you've got to play bench boost, triple captain, free it. Now, I appreciate you might not know because you're talking to like 3-week cycles and then you'll review. Any idea when you're going to play any of them?
I need to find my. I'm going to find the fixtures, and I'll have a. At the moment, the answer is no. I've got no idea. But usually, I pull up.
You're clearly thinking about it though, because you pulled in a team, right? You pulled in you've got rid of Redmonds, you bought in a starting striker, you've got rid of Xhaka, you bought in Sarr, who is going to get you more double digits. He's going to get you more goals, so on and so forth. Salah down to Saka. So you're bringing in these players. You started with 1 bench option. You've now got 3.
Yeah.
So clearly, I'm assuming in your head you've done that because you know bench boost is coming at some point.
Well, yeah, I know.
Even if you don't know the game week.
Yeah. I don't have a game week set. I'm sure I was looking at game week 11 at one point because I think Arsenal play Sunderland, Chelsea play Wolves. I think that was my potential. Based on those 2 fixtures on their own, Wolves have been pretty woeful, and you back Arsenal to do something at Sunderland. It is a waste. It's not ideal, but I kind of try and base it on fixtures. I kind of go, so who's in the team? Bournemouth have Sunderland away in week 13, so maybe that's an option for a Senesi and a Semenyo. I don't have anyone from Brentford, so I kind of base it around sort of a couple of the assets and sort of where I think they'll do well. I back Howard to score every game week, so it's kind of pointless looking at him. But they play game week 15? They're playing Sunderland, so but the rest of the game week's pretty poor for Liverpool and Newcastle. So that would take some Liverpool are away at Leeds and Newcastle are home to Burnley. So that's a potential week as well. So I'm probably sort of in between maybe game week 11 and game week, 15-ish.
15,
That's probably where I am at the moment for a bench boost. If I was to play my triple captain again, I'm just going down to exactly Man City. Who is he playing? He's got Leeds at home game week 13, and they've got Sunderland at home game week 15. So it'd be one of those 2 for a triple captain.
Yeah.
Wild card, to be honest, wouldn't be looking to play my wild card unless I had a bunch of injuries that I needed to correct, or I had a team that I just wasn't happy with. If I had, I don't know, if I had like Fernandez, Salah, Frimpong, Verts, if I had a team like that, that's when I'd be using my wild card. That's probably when I'd be looking to do that one. But yeah, I think the only time I'd run the free hit. When does it refresh? What's the game week?
Game week 19 is the last game week. And remember, everybody gets 5 free transfers in game week 16.
Yeah, so So the only thing I may consider is, again, and this is where, so my younger brother plays, so I'll be down at my mum's for Christmas. So game week 18 on the 20 on Boxing Day is when I might free hit, because Everton have good fixtures, Fulham have good fixtures, Leeds have good fixtures, and so do Liverpool. So that might be a free hit week to bring in and sort of target those teams. That's
And then give
probably,
your brother some when you beat him.
well, normally he absolutely smashes me out the park, so I'm actually beating him this year. So it's actually quite nice. He's having a terrible one. We've got a mini league, just us two, just so we can keep track of what's going on. And I think I sent him a message after 3 or 4 weeks, and I was like, "What is going on? It's just terrible." I think he was sat at like 3 or 4 million, and it's one of those games you could make what on paper are completely sound decisions to bring certain people in, but it just doesn't work. It's just funny.
Yeah.
I try and see if I can pull him up, but yeah, it just made me laugh that 9 times out of 10 he beats me heavily. I'm over 100 points in front of him at the moment.
For 100, wow.
Yeah, over 100. Yeah.
Is he in the FPL Apprentice League?
Yeah, he's bottom. He was bottom at one point. I don't know if he
Oh,
still is.
is he? Sorry to your brother. Oh, there he
So
is,
like,
Oliver.
yeah, where is he? Is he bottom?
No, he's not. He's 69th out of 79.
I thought you were going to say
Yeah,
it's
not
69th out
not
of
in a great
70.
season. No, not quite. Not quite. He's pulled up some points
He has. He had
this
a
game
couple of
week.
good game weeks in a row, but like he brought in Jokeres, like when most people did. He brought in Reinders and stuff and things like that, which on paper, like, were sound things. He had Gabriel on his bench when he got 13 points. So it's just, yeah, I think his game week 1 team was like a sound team, but like he's been hurt by a couple of like poor game weeks. He got like a 37 in like game week 3. He sort of backed Chris Wood as captain and things like that, which last season would have been a safe bet. But this year he went with the Salah. I think people have been stung this year by going with Salah over Haaland. So like, and then the people that stuck to that after sort of game week 2 or 3 have had a really tough start to the league.
Agree. You know, you see a lot of the big YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, not Facebook. That shows my age. FPL channels, and you're right. Yeah, that was their sort of strategy, and they're sitting at like 2, 3, 4 million. So it has been a tough start. More impressive for you, man. The 60 odd thousand, 64K in overall rank, and yeah, may the arrows go up for you, mate. So with three chips in your back pocket, most have already used the free hits, quite a lot have used the wild card. You've still got them to go. So if I was to ask you now, appreciate there's 30 game weeks to go. What's your aim?
Ooh, if I finish the game inside the top million, I don't know. What is it, 12 million players this year? So I think if I sit
on about 11 at the minute,
yeah. So if I sit inside the top million, if I've made it to the end and I'm still making transfers and interested in it, I'm pretty happy. I've just realised, have I put my overall rank wrong at the bottom of the screen?
I know you are 64K. That is
I was
correct.
64. Okay, I don't know why I thought I was 54. I was like, that'd be so funny, an entire recording of just the wrong number.
No. You are. That is correct. You are 64K. Your best ranky ever in a season came 23-24. You were 700K in that season. And then 1.7K, 1.7 million. Sorry, last season, and then 2022 was your first. 23 season was your first. That was 1.5 million. So anything. I mean, this is very much on for by far your best season ever.
This is
Stick with it.
uncharted territory, is this? So this is
Stick with it.
Yeah. See, we don't know how it's going to end, but we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, mate. Honestly, appreciate you taking the time just to chat us through. You've obviously had a really good start to the season, so good for us to learn some tips from you based on what you've been doing. And yeah, best of luck with the rest of it. Appreciate you joining. You might have started a new segment for me and Matt. I don't know. I'll chat to him when he gets back from the jet lag. But yeah, appreciate you joining us, mate.
No problem at all. If anything, the tips that you've learned from this is don't listen to anything Dave or Matt says. Don't plan ahead. Act completely on gut, and you'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen? But no, thank you.
Yeah,
yeah, thank you for
we'll
having
see.
me on.
Matt will kill you for that. But we'll see who's top at the end of the season. Cheers, Jack. Appreciate you coming and joining us.
Cheers, Dave.
And to you, the listener, thank you for joining us. Hopefully, you did learn something. If you did, do give us a like and subscribe. It's free to do. And it's just a thank you to me and Matt, and now Jack as well. Thank you to Jack. But whatever you do this season, me and Matt will hopefully catch up with you ahead of the game week 9 deadline. If not, whatever you decide to do, may your arrows be green, and we will pick up with you next week. Until then, all the very